Welcome back. In this session, we're going to look at our privacy notice. A privacy notice is a public-facing document that tells your data subjects who is collecting their data, what you are going to do with it, and how they can exercise their rights. As we were looking at the privacy principles, we saw a few of the principles like use specification and purpose limitation, which talked about us being transparent with people in telling people what we're going to do with their data. We also talked about transparency and being very clear about which organization is processing their data. The principal way we do this is through our privacy notice, by having an easy to find public document that tells our data subjects exactly what we're going to be doing with their data. This helps us live up to these principles. It should be easy to find. Typically, this is a link at the bottom of your website. We're going to look at an example in just a moment. The link to the privacy policy should be presented to the data subjects anywhere that you are collecting personal information. This could be on an online conference registration form, or it could be on paper if someone is maybe filling out a paper application to join staff, or you're collecting information from students at an evangelistic event. Wherever you're collecting personal information, you should also present a link to your privacy notice. But it should be very easy for people to find, access, Google search, locate your organization and what you are doing with their data. We can see this on the Crew website. You can see on the Crew website, if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the website, you will see a link to your privacy. This is a very normal place to put a link to your privacy notice. If we click into that, you'll see a copy of our privacy notice. If you do not have a privacy notice on your website, then this almost certainly is your next best step in privacy maturity. The good news I have for you is this is so simple for us to do. We can very easily put a privacy notice. And the reason for this is we have created a privacy notice template for you. And all you have to do is download the template. It's possible you might need to translate it into your local language, but you can simply take the template, and there's a few places, which I will show you, where you may need to change a few things. We've included a link to our privacy notice template. We actually spent a lot of time, and we worked closely with external privacy experts to develop a privacy notice that will work in a wide array of contexts across our ministries and the organization. This hopefully will save you a lot of time and effort in getting the privacy notice onto your website. So all you need to do is click the link for this privacy template, and there are a few areas that we've highlighted with comments where you just need to read and update this privacy notice. And I'll walk you through a couple of key sections right now. It's possible that you will need to translate this privacy notice into your local language. In general, it should be available in the language of your users, typically the same language that your website is in, or languages that your website is in. So as we look at the privacy notice, the very first section defines the organization. This is the openness principle and telling people exactly which organization is collecting their data. Bluntly put, it means who could the data subject sue if they think something wrong has happened with their data. But we're being transparent about who the organization is. And in our general template here, we include a link to a broader definition of what our organization is in the context of our covenant of affiliation and the many ministries around the world that we are partnered with. We talk a little bit about just some general things in privacy, but one of the most important things that you'll see in this site or in this template is in section 2, how we use your personal information. We have spent some time thinking in broad categories about the various ways that we collect personal information. And this chart that you find in section 2 shows many of the ways that our organization collects data. And you can see things on here like registering for an event or following up with you after the event. It talks about electronic marketing communication. This might include sending out newsletters to your staff, even for personal MPD. For physical communication, like with paper and mailing people things, for contact management. So there's a whole bunch of things in this table. You should review this table, and if you think your organization is collecting data for purposes that are not listed here, you should add it to the table. This table should define the many things that you are doing. We have found that most of our ministries are happy with the table the way it is, but you are welcome to add to it. For each type, we identify what personal information we collect for that purpose. In general, it should make sense. You should be collecting the information that are relevant for the personal information that, or for the purpose that you've specified in the first comment, in the first column. Remember the principle of collection limitation. We only collect the information that we need for the purpose for which we have collected it. So this is where that's coming together. We have another session where we're going to talk more about legal basis, but in general, our organization collects data under consent. Sometimes we enter a contract. So when you're registering for an event, it's more like a contract. I'm signing up and you're providing this service. And then the final way we collect data is under legitimate interests. This is where it's very obvious why the organization is collecting the information. The data subject will thoroughly expect our organization to use it in this way, and we're allowed to collect on a legitimate basis without explicit consent for certain types of process. But one of the conditions for doing that is we have a clear privacy policy, and we're very transparent with the ways that we're handling the data. And if we're leaning on legitimate interest, we need to explain exactly when and how we are leaning on legitimate interest. So for example, with electronic communication, electronic marketing communication, when you engage with us, for example, financially, the law permits our organization to send you marketing emails. They may or may not have explicitly signed up to receive a newsletter from us, but we are leaning on legitimate interest to say that where a donor is given a gift, we are going to send communication, electronic communication to them using legitimate interest. We're being transparent about that in our privacy policy. So there are many other sections in here that you're going to want to review. There's a few other comments like changing the email address or the address by which they can contact you and exercise their rights. But in general, the rest of this privacy notice talks about their rights. So things like, sorry, let me scroll down a little bit further. Accessing their personal information or deleting their personal information. We have a legal requirement to tell people what their rights are and how they can exercise it. It's all spelled out in this document. In general, you don't want to change those sections. We also talk in this document about when you're transferring data overseas and things like that. And in general, we've taken care of that for you, but you will want to review a few sections. It's possible your country has some local requirements that are that are not met by our policy, although that is rare. But you may need to consult a local legal advisor for a detailed look on what is required locally. But for most cases, this privacy policy is enough. So I'd want to encourage you to take a moment to look at your website and see if you have a privacy policy. Have you already adopted our template? If you don't, this is a super simple next step that you can very quickly accomplish simply by putting this onto your site. And then take a look at all the places that you're collecting data. Are you including a simple link to your privacy notice everywhere that you're collecting your data? Again, it's a very achievable next step for most of you.